Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to something a little bit different. Yes, today we are jumping in and I'm going to be giving you guys a fairly quick guide to the best way to use ERS inside F125. Yes, I seem to be getting this question a lot more recently, especially over on my Mat212 setups channel as well. So I'm going to use YouTube's collaborate feature today, kind of to talk through this. It is going to be a fairly quick and simple guide, because, to be honest, fairly quick and simply, it's really quite easy. The ERS strat on F125 is absolutely the same everywhere. It's what I'm using during my streams, during all my career mode races now, and any other kind of videos that I'm doing, because ultimately it's fairly unsophisticated inside this year's game, and if EA were going to do some balancing, this is exactly what I think they should be looking at very, very, high up on that priority list. Of course, if you're new, or perhaps you're interested in some setups, I know I do mention it from time to time, but obviously if you're watching this on the main Mat212 YouTube channel, there will be a link down in the description below to Mat212 Racing. I have got all of the dry setups for F125, I've got all of the wet setups now, and all of the F2 setups inside of the game, and later on this week, I'm going to be restarting them again, updating them as kind of the meta has shifted throughout the game as well, to kind of have a look at, obviously, kind of lower wings have become a lot more popular, and a few other bits and pieces like that. So yeah, make sure you drop me a sub over there. We're trying to get to 20k subs on that channel, if you haven't already. They're meant to kind of be good baseline, good kind of beginner setups. They're good for career mode, but again, I'm going to be updating those now to hopefully suit you guys a bit more as you jump into some league racing as well. A bit more aggressive and things like that, but they're basically, obviously, they're completely free, and they're meant to provide a good baseline inside of the game. But today, though, I think we're going to head out. You know what? We raced at Qatar last weekend, didn't we? So I'm going to jump in with Oscar Piastri's McLaren. Of course, the car and driver that probably should have won the race, had McLaren known how to do strategy. I'm going to run a 25% race distance here, just kind of talk through it. But yeah, fingers crossed, obviously, this is going to prove as a good guide for you all there. I'm going to disable collisions just because that's not the point of the video as well. But yeah, let's head out onto the track. Make sure that immediately, as you can see, all of my setups for the game. Hopefully later on this week as well, I'm going to release a full spreadsheet document where you guys can easily access all of my setups inside this game. But if you're looking at it right now, there you go. All of the possible tips and tricks you would need with a couple of little alterations ready for the McLaren inside of the game as well then. But ready on the grid, we line up P2 just behind Verstappen, who of course won this race. No idea where Norris is. 5 red lights are on. And it's going to be lights out, and away we go there. So obviously collisions are off, ready for the start. But yeah, down in towards turn 1 though, on lap 1, I would say you want to run a medium ERS setting, just because it kind of gives you a little bit of extra bite, gives you a little bit of extra power of the corners. Of course, you also start the Grand Prix with a full battery pack, which of course, so it just means obviously you burn through a little bit nice and early on in the race as well, because of course there's no point, I would say, inside this game having more than 90% battery at pretty much any time, because simply, of course, obviously, if you go into a hard braking zone, which admittedly there aren't that many of here in Qatar, then obviously you can't get more than 100% charged, so you basically want to burn through a little bit of it, a bit more aggressively on lap 1 there. But as we try and take the lead away, driving through Max Verstappen, we're going to drain a fair bit of overtake mode as we make our way then up in towards the end of Sector 2. And there we go then. Now we can start thinking about what we want to do ready for lap 2 then. So normally, yeah, like I said, I leave the battery, especially obviously in career mode, I leave it on medium for that opening lap. You can see now we've gone through quite a lot of it, melted through a decent chunk by the time we get towards the end of lap 1. Of course, if you're doing a league race or something like that, DRS as well, the range is really, really important. So, for example, if you started towards the front of the order, sometimes it can be worth sacrificing a little bit more battery early on in the race. But by the time we get in towards turn 1, ERS now is set to none. This is the whole strat inside F125. It's hilariously OP It was something that I actually didn't realise during my first few races of Creator Series, and hence why I struggled so much for pace. It can honestly make a second a lap difference around some venues inside of this game. Now, Qatar, maybe not the best example for that, but still a pretty good one, because where this track doesn't have that many braking zones, and obviously the only real overtaking opportunity is down, obviously, on the run in towards turn 1. Yeah, basically you want it on none all the time, and just using a little bit of overtake out of some of the bigger traction zones, out of some of the bigger corners around the lap. Now, obviously, if you're trying to get a run on someone, obviously back in towards turn 1 or something like that, then obviously you want to use that DRS, use a lot more battery, and obviously then try to capitalise because of that as well there. But yeah, it's really kind of simple on this year's game. I remember a couple of years ago, you were kind of having to really tweak around modes, tweak around settings, get everything kind of fixed up for each track, you know, kind of learn exactly where you want to use battery on every single venue. Now, there are some places, for example, that you want to try and make sure you're using battery every single lap. For example, one of the best ones I can give of that is Eau Rouge at Spa. You want to make sure that you've got the overtake mode on all the way up through the steep climb, because it makes a massive difference. So obviously, if you're at tracks with a bit more elevation change, uphill sections are really beneficial from using the overtake. You actually get more of a benefit from it than you might do normally. Again, Qatar's a pretty flat circuit though, so it's not the best example of that. But yeah, obviously, if you leave the battery on 2, kind of the standard mode inside of the game, medium, as I believe it's known, then you do kind of, around most venues, slowly just get through it. Now, obviously, there are some tracks as well where you have still got to be really careful. But you can see here at Qatar at the moment, obviously helped by the fact that I'm not having to kind of push behind another car in front of us here, that obviously, you know, we've basically got a huge amount of charge everywhere, and then we can use that little extra splash of battery when we need to as well. So yeah, like I said coming into this video, it's a really kind of simple trick inside F1 25. So I just kind of wanted to make a little video today talking through it with you all, because yeah, it's just what I use in career mode, it's what I use online, everything like that as well. It just gives you a huge helping hand. Of course, I don't believe it's what the AI do inside of the game. Now, obviously, you know, it's been spoken about before. Tracks like Miami, Silverstone are two of the worst examples for it. Monza is another one inside this year's game, where the AI just get far too much battery. So they don't simulate it in the way you do. They are just pre-programmed to use it around certain places on each and every lap inside the game. Now, they will obviously change that up slightly if they're looking to go for an overtake on each other or on you or something like that. So, you know, there are some circuits where obviously this strategy works out better than others, but here at Qatar, it actually seems to be one that it works out really nicely, because again, you haven't got that many big braking zones. There are normally that many places to recharge the pack as well, but I would say, obviously, if you're using this in league racing a bit more, then obviously you are going to have to use a bit more battery. Generally, you normally sit, you know, unless you're kind of really saving up for an attack on someone or something like that, you're normally sat somewhere between about 30 and 50%, because again, you don't really want the battery running too high up, because it does affect the recharge slightly. And again, especially if you're up sort of over 90%, there's no point having 100% battery ever inside of the game. Just because, again, it means that, you know, if you're trying to recharge the pack, you're basically wasting battery around a lap as well. So I actually, if you've watched like Creator Series and things like that, tend to run it quite low down as well there. One other thing I will say, again, it kind of depends on the wheel you've got. I would actually have a button on your wheel that obviously you can change around your ERS modes as well. So for example, as you can see for me, obviously I've got just a little button there, a button switch that I can use obviously to move the ERS setting up and down. So for example, at the moment I'm harvesting, and then if you take a look, I'm now on overtake mode and things like that, and obviously hot lap mode as well. So you can obviously just flick through those settings without having to open the MFD, scroll around, find the right option, and everything like that as well. It should kind of become second nature for you, but also I would say, again, you've got a kind of standard overtake ERS option inside of the game as well. That is the one you really want to lean on, so you want to make sure obviously that that one is set up and ready to go there. But yeah, like I said, this isn't going to be a particularly long video because it's really quite simple. It's hilariously OP inside F125, so if you have been struggling for battery management against the AI, I think, yeah, I've left it on hot lap mode now, and as you can see, we're just melting through it. But basically, from what I gather, overtake mode, you obviously use a low more battery than you would in hot lap or medium or anything like that. So it's more beneficial to use that than use medium or hot lap more often, because you gain more from that and lose less by having the harvesting off the rest of the time. It's just hilariously imbalanced. You'll see all the esports drivers doing this, I'm sure, when obviously, you know, if F1 esports comes back. You'll see it in like top tier PSGL or WOR. Like I said, you even see it in Creator Series. It was something that I had to learn in the meta as well, and let me tell you, that league is nowhere near as fiercely competitive, where every 10th of a second matters as well there. Now, I would say, of course, that you can try and plan as well around like pit stops and things, so you can drain a load more battery on, say, a pit-in lap if someone's trying to get an undercut on you, or, of course, if you're trying to undercut someone else, save a little bit more and obviously then dump a load on the out lap as well. But you will have to do a little bit of practice around every circuit to kind of learn as to how much you can get away with. Like I said, though, hopefully this video helps you out. If you are looking for more guides and things like that, some of the more nuanced stuff inside F125, make sure you subscribe to Matt212 Racing down in the description. I'm going to be kicking off a new career mode, though, tomorrow here on Matt212, so channel members should get early access to that later on today as well. But yeah, that's going to do us for this one, though. Hopefully this video has helped, and I'll see you back here tomorrow with more F1 content.